Okay, well, hopefully this just went live. So welcome to the Union Bay Town Hall. And it's a great pleasure to be here. And if we lack chairs, there's a pretty full room here. We've got some more in the back. So this is I think the fifth time I do this since I got elected in 2018. And usually every couple of years, I did one last year, and the format I haven't changed because it seems to work reasonably well. You don't want to hold people for like hours on end. So I do about 20 to 25 minutes of just updates. I'm just going to fill your brain with a bunch of different things that are happening in and around Union Bay. I'm not going as deep on the regional topics. There's a lot of stuff that the rural areas contribute to, a number of services. I'm not going to go into as much depth about those. This is really focused on topics right near Union Bay. However, after my 20 to 25 minutes, then there's basically an hour reserved for your questions, your suggestions, your feedback. And if you feel that there's a topic that's dear to your heart or that you're interested in that you really haven't covered, then just ask and then we'll get into it. So yeah, it's been a really busy year. I think since I was last year, there was a lot of question marks, and on some of the topics, there's still a few question marks, but others actually we've made a ton of progress, and some are the projects are completed. So I'll just go through my list, and I think at this time a year ago, when I was in front of you, the fire hall was a question mark. We were assembling the financing package for it. We knew we had to go and get electoral assent for it, so that was through a fairly controversial AAP process. You guys might have heard of that. And it required, there was an AAP going on for 3 different initiatives in the region, and our fire hall was one of them. And it required, I think, if more than 10% of people in Union Bay had sent in their concern about it in a formal way, then there was a form for it, then the project would have failed. And I think for the fire hall, we ended up like with 5% opposition in Union Bay to it. So it was pretty comfortable. So because of that, we were then able to go borrow the money. The Union Bay Fire Hall is very unique in the area, and everyone else. I mean, I'm about to start the process for a fire hall in Denman, and I told them it's not going to be as good as Union Bay in terms of the level of grants received. On your fire hall, you're getting upwards of north of $3 million of grants. The budget was set at $6 million, give or take. We received 9 bids since then, and the successful bidder was under our budget, and this is an all-in contract. So this guarantees, pretty much 60% of the fire hall will be grant funded. This is really unique. When we built a Hornby Fire Hall, I think on a $3 million build, we had $200,000 of grants. And I think Denman's going to be kind of similar. Why is it that Union Bay is getting that level of grant? We had some regional support from my colleagues. They ended up chipping some of their budgets from Area B and C in. And also, more importantly, our grants to the province were accepted partly because there's a recognition that Comox First Nation is going to get treaty lands around here, just on the north side here, and this fire hall is likely to service them as well. So there was a lot of interest in not just the immediate value, but the long-time value of the fire hall. So the build, I don't know if Chief Ham is here tonight. Chief, are you here? Might be taking a night off. That would be good. Chief Ham has been at the site every day, and they have the forms right now. I'm sure you guys are able to drive by and keep tabs on it. It's pretty visible. So the project so far is going well. I try to drop in every couple of weeks, and the contractors are great. For that particular company, it's their first fire hall that they build, but they actually have deep experience in a range of public and private projects. So I feel like we're in good hands. Next, so definitely that one, Touchwood, is going well. Next, a quick update on the water system. So the water system, I think the last time I reported, the last 2 or 3 years is when we had the big jumps in the tax requisition, and that was to start building some reserves toward the pipe replacements. Like the Union Bay system is not as bad as some of our other systems, but it's not great either in terms of the infrastructure. So there's a lot of pipe replacement that needs to happen, and we started basically saving some money towards that. You're unlikely to see large increases from here on out. We tried to bring it up, and now it should just be the normal kind of going up. One project we just approved at budget this year is we're going to replace all of your water meters. And I wish I had our engineers here, because you're getting like top-of-line water meter at the same price as kind of equivalent technology to this day. But it's actually leak detecting kind of water meters. It's going to give immediate feedback. And it's also, if you don't see a lot of CVRD staff in Union Bay at the plant and things like that, like the central place is actually at the Comox Valley Water Treatment Plant. And if any of you ever have a chance to go visit that, go for it. It's almost like a high-tech room that they have. And from there, with all the computers, they have from here to the wall of computers. And they keep tabs on all the Comox Valley water system, the big Comox Valley water system, but also the 7 or 8 others that we have, including Union Bay. So that's probably something tangible you'll see with the new water meters. And then second will be increasingly every year you'll see a little bit of pipe replacements. Opening of Union Bay Playground. Yeah, that was also in the works. We had the funding last year, but now the project is done. A big shout out to Rick Weaver, who's actually put in a ton of time. There's actually a lot of people that have put in time. Is Jenny here? Jenny Sagan? She's not. Yeah. So that's fine. She's put in so much volunteer work on that project, and then Lindsay Flaws as well, who's now moved to Cumberland. She was here in Union Bay for some time, but she was actually the project sort of manager on this one. They did a fantastic job. It's really unfortunate what happened last week. If people have information on that, please come forward to the Union Bay Community Club. Yeah. I mean, sometimes things happen, but this one is kind of like, especially for those who have put in a lot of time in that project, it's really disheartening. And there was also an element of risk with what happened there. So hopefully that doesn't happen again, and it's a lesson learned. And again, if the people who did that want to make amends, there's time to come forward. The next one I have is, following up from the playground. The playground was part of a bigger initiative because we've received the lands last year for the Union Bay Nature Park. So this was all Union Bay Estates land, starting just on the other side of the property here and going up. Our park staff is now working on the long-term plan for it, so they're going to build, even though it's not a super large park, they're still going to develop a master plan, and you're going to start to see some activity around a little bit of trail improvement, a little bit of safety around the trees. I know a lot of people like to walk their dogs or just go for a short walk and things like that. My view long-term is it would be great to keep that park going up the creek all the way to Langley Lake. But that's a big dream. But just so you know, like I think there's an opportunity with that whole riparian area to do something really cool over time that also connects places a little bit better. So if you have questions on that one, don't hesitate. Tied into that is my big fight that I started with the board this year. So this is also on the park theme, and in 2023, I commissioned a study because I had a sense that Area A we share a park service with Area B and C, and I got the sense that we were contributing more than what we were receiving. So staff prepared a report, and it showed that we provide almost close to 30% of the budget, but receive about 11% back in terms of operation. And the big driver for that, it was not ill intent on the part of, or even the Area A directors, or, over the years not doing a great job. It's just they ended up with Seal Bay Park, they ended up with Goose Pit, they ended up with Nymph Falls, all these big parks that cost a lot of money to maintain. And we didn't. We, we don't have significant parks. This just died. We got back up. Just give me a second. 1, 2. All right, we're back in business. So, so then I let a couple years go because I was trying to see if we could fix that within our budgets and make some allocations. But obviously, it was a difficult conversation because it would mean either increasing the requisition across the board by close to 20 or 25%, which taxpayers would not love, or reducing services in the big parks, which is also really problematic because we don't want to lower the service. So we came up with some model of in between those things and had a lot of discussions. We ended up in a dead end, so to speak. So starting next week, I'm actually going into a review where that's the province is supervising us, our discussion. It's almost like a mediated discussion, but I've shown my intent to actually leave the service for our area, and it's a right we have under the Local Government Act that each area can leave. And if the end outcome, what I think will happen is that we'll end up with just a Bainstown specific park service, which would be Royston, Union Bay, and Fanny Bay. And I think for the long term, that makes a lot of sense. At the regional level, we also started a bigger park service for future large parcels purchases, where Courtenay, Comox, and Cumberland will contribute in the future. They've agreed to that. So I think having a Bainstown specific park service, maybe by next year I'll be able to report on that, but it would give us more control around around this kind of stuff that we want to see, whether it's new parks or active transportation. There's a lot of requests actually for better cycling path along Highway 19A or crosswalks or all these different things. It will allow us to pursue that with a little more confidence. So I'll report back on that next year. Yes. Yeah. So you remember they came here. Yeah. So that was probably 3 years ago. I think we were doing 3 years ago, if not longer. I remember Ken Grant, the Comox Council, and myself were the ones really pushing for that at the board to have a regional park service. And the reason why we said that is because we were unable to negotiate for Stoughton Falls. Because at the time it was just the rural areas, and we're like, the price is way too high to buy that. So then the opportunity kind of left us. And the municipality said, you know what, we should be better coordinated. So the idea of creating a special fund for those larger parcels was created then. And we went through the bylaws, about 2 years ago. And now there's budgets that we're starting to build a reserve for those future purchases. And just last month, if people are really interested, you can go on the CVRD website, type regional parks. And we just finished the strategic plan for that, and identifying which parcels in the long term we would like to pursue in the whole Comox Valley Regional District. And in that work, it wasn't just a CVRD, like we had all the environmental and land conservation organization provide both technical and also opinion into the process. So it's been actually a pretty involved process, and you can find a lot of those documents on our website. Related efforts, so I'm kind of getting myself in trouble a little bit with the board this year, but the other bit that's a little bit difficult for us is recreation funding, and I would include the community halls in that basket, where we are currently, Area A, like the Bainstown portion, again, Royston to Fanny Bay, we're currently shipping $1.1 million a year from this small pool to the arena and the swimming pool at the top of the hill. And so we pay 100% the cost that people in Comox and Courtenay pay. Those numbers are getting high. I just, politics is a little bit of give and take. I just told you, like, the municipalities are willing to put some money towards regional parks. So, I mean, you always try to assess where's equitability. and everybody defines that different. But on rec, it's fairly significant. And in comparison to that 1 million, you know, we started the community hall service support, so we support, I think, 6 halls, Fallen Alders, Royston, this one, Fanny Bay Seniors, and Fanny Bay, the main Fanny Bay Hall. And we started that service just a few years ago, and collectively, between all those halls, they get, I don't know, like $100,000 of money, right? And think about all the activities and recreation-related stuff that happens here. So when I look at that 1.1, I'm like, wow, that's, you know. So I haven't created a huge mess yet, but I've said, you know, I want some data. And we're going to do a study of by area of how much usage there is of those facilities and whether it corresponds to budget. So we put that in the budget this year. My municipal colleagues agreed to do that. And the reason why I'm doing that is because the future looks even more scarier in terms of that tax requisition. The financial plan shows that we would go to 2 million because they want to add a third sheet of ice and they want to double the size of the swimming pool, so they have a $100 million in capital project coming up. And if we stay at paying it the same as Comox and Courtenay, yeah, we'll be at $2 million coming out between Royston and Fanny Bay, and I'm like, access is difficult. Now, I'm hoping we'll end up with a negotiated solution, just like I did with Park. Maybe we pay. So I can tell you, actually, Hornby and Denman, you can be mad at them, I represent them too. My predecessor years ago in 2000, she negotiated that when they were putting these facilities, and they negotiated that Hornby and Denman would pay 10% of what people in Courtenay and Comox pay, in recognition that access and usage is going to be lower. I think this area should be in between, right? Somewhere we should pay something because there's some usage, but at the same time, is it fair to pay 100% and go to $2 million? Do you have a quick question?
Just a suggestion, because the pools and whatever is accessible for Union Bay and Denman and Hornby, can we not have where it's a user pay instead for this area, so that if we're not in that area, because not everyone's going to be using it.
Yeah, so the question is, can you move to a user pay model? Yeah, that would be challenging because it's a bit like schools. Like, not most people don't use the rec facilities, and then so to my answer to that, and I'll give you a couple of models because we've seen that with libraries as well, even in Powell River, and there's different models where the areas have a user pay model. The user pay fee goes way up. And typically the municipalities will not even bother with it because then it's too much management for them to have that dual pay system for people from somewhere. So Port Alberni is like that. None of the areas actually contribute to the Port Alberni pool and arena. They contribute zero, the electoral areas. And then they tried to introduce a user pay model, but they had to give it up because it was unwieldy. So there's other ways to do it. The Cowichan Valley just finished their Bay Recreation Reshuffle, where every 5 years, because they have a few facilities that are regionally funded, every 5 years, they do a user study of the last 5 years, and then they set the rate for the next 5 years on the requisition to each jurisdiction. I actually think that's probably, I'm getting into the details here, but yes, there are models, there are things that we can look at, and we will. Yeah, everybody. And the Comox Valley is pretty unique, and I've done quite a bit of research to kind of bolster my case at the board. We're pretty unique in the coastal region, like where the areas pay 100%. Like a lot of places, even Powell River, I think the 4 areas send $100,000 towards their big rec complex. So, and I've said that to the board too. We've been very generous, but in the go forward, if you're doubling the size of those facilities, like there's some fairness questions that come up, especially at a time where I'm seeing a lot of recreation demand here and a lot of requests from residents for better recreation services in this area, and I tell that to the board. It's not my imagination. Like, people really want to see more cool stuff right around their homes, right? Okay, so that was the rec. I just want to skip over the next one. The South Sewer Project. All right, it's still in bad shape. Last year was when the news was starting to come down pretty hard with Union Bay Estates kind of leaving the field. I don't have huge updates. I mean, I'll give you what has happened in the last year, which is not a ton, but the most important is we haven't given up. So we're still working towards, I mean, one of the big drivers is we have the $30 million in grant contribution from the province. So, I mean, you don't want to give that back like without exploring all your options. And we also have Comox First Nation, and I was at their hall when they passed their treaty vote. And my God, that was quite a day. And to watch the enthusiasm and the joy that they had when, you know, the treaty vote passed by almost 90%. And that's after 30 years of effort on their behalf, negotiating with the province and the federal government. It was a really moving moment. But they're also, a lot of their future lands that are really critical for them in terms of development is in this area, and they've been a really strong partner in the sewage project, putting their own money into it, also attracting grants to it. So we don't want to give up. So where we're at since last year, I think last year I'd said, well, you know, I didn't know if we'd be able to keep Union Bay, and because the portion that Union Bay Estates was going to contribute was a lot to bring the big pipe sort of south all the way here. And indeed, like, we still don't have the final reports, but I'll just preview it for you when it does come out. Yeah, I think Union Bay is likely to be cut out from the project short term, and that maybe we will leave a latecomer agreement, but opportunity for, because the zoning for the Union Bay Estates is still there. You know, you could have a buyer tomorrow show up with money. The zoning for 3,500 home is still there. In my opinion, these things take a long time, right? And for us, in our grant agreement, we have to get going into building that South Sewer. So the reports I've seen really focus more on Royston. So it would probably shift with the phasing of the development of the sewage line. Maybe Kilmarnock. I think our staff is looking at whether we could connect Kilmarnock, because then you'd have a pump station kind of in that general area servicing Kilmarnock, servicing the treaty lands near Argyle, and then basically leave the line to Union Bay for future consideration. Again, I realize I'm a public official. I'm not speaking officially because those decisions have been made, but I'm just giving you the preview that seems, in my opinion, where it's probably going to land by the time we get all those reports. Yeah, quick question.
Have you heard any discussion about possibly using the rail line to run the sewer?
Yeah, so the question as to whether we've looked at running the rail line, absolutely. And right now, we also have a water project with Royston and Comox First Nation, and that line is also being looked at. It's funny when you get into technicality of it, there's literal pros and cons to the ENN versus Highway 19A. And we may end up with a mix on both projects of sections that are on 19A. A lot of it has to do with distance. Some of it has to do with archaeology potential. So there's just a lot of considerations that go into these decisions. And some of it has to do with what would be the impact on the pump station and all the rest of it on where you locate these things. Because the highway is lower, it has some benefits on some aspects, but not all aspects. So that work is ongoing both for sewage and water. Yeah. And the ICF, the Island Corridor Foundation, are supportive. They're like, yeah, whatever you guys want to do, we'll be supportive of that. The ministry. Oh, and one question I'll preempt, because I hear it pretty often. Can you put both lines in the same trench to save money? The answer is no. Regulations, they don't allow in Canada, they don't allow you to use the same trench for water mains and sewer mains. Okay. Oh, okay. It's a stressful topic, that one. Okay, updates on efforts to enhance safety and active transportation around Highway 19A. This last year was incredible. So many groups approached me between Royston and Fanny Bay, and we've had some pretty serious accident. I mean, with Diane at Fanny Bay Inn, there was a death right there, and a month before, she was emailing me, can you get the speed limit reduced for that corner in front of the Fanny Bay pub? We've had tons of accidents. And I mean, this is not a new topic. I've known about it since I got elected in 2018, and it's mostly the ministry because they are in charge of the roads. Like we have limited authority on it, but it's policy. It's basically a matter of policy. Where Highway 19A is categorized still as a major highway, and that's why you don't see a crosswalk between Buckley Bay and Royston. Like even in Reunion Bay, like there should be a couple of crosswalks here for people to go on walks, right? But they've never recategorized it when they built Highway 19, the big highway. But the group at Mystery Beach and Charles Tremerwen, we've been working closely together for the last 2 years, and they were dogged in their advocacy to the ministry, and we finally got a meeting last June. And the ministry has agreed to do a speed review, and they said we can't do a speed review from Courtney to Fanny Bay because we don't operate that way. So they said it has to be a segment. I'm like, well, okay, do the segment. Where's the segment? They're doing a speed review from Qualicum Beach to Campbell River. Right? So they're going to look at the whole thing, and I'm like, wow, that's great. And coming out of that this is not a commitment. Again, they have multiple layers of processes to go through, but coming out of that could be eventually a recategorization of the highway as a second entry, which then they have their guidebooks. And all of a sudden, yeah, you can, like the local ministry can start doing different things, right? And putting crosswalks or better cycling and amenities or, quick question?
Yeah, south end of Union Bay, coming into Union Bay.
Yeah.
Is there been any discussion about putting up a sign with flashing lights saying hidden driveways?
Yeah.
We had an accident 3 years ago now, involving a motorcycle with a vehicle coming out of one of the driveways.
Okay. So what I'll ask each of you is send me an email with that request, then I'll send it to ministry. Are we out of time? Send me an email. In all those years, especially around Highway 19A, I'm striking like 1% yes on requests. It's horrible because they have to go back to those provincial designs. It's always a no. So, but the flow is important. The more requests, the more they see, and the more it helps. I just told you about that was actually the head for Vancouver Island who agreed to do this speed review. Like they know, and the squeaky wheel kind of gets the grease. So send me an email with that specific request. I'll put it in. We'll try for it. You'll probably, because I've had so many requests over the years along those lines. So not giving up. I also have a resolution this year going to the Association of Municipalities across BC on that topic. And our staff, I asked them to prepare something technical, what would need to be changed for us to get better amenities in rural areas on these roads. So our staff did an analysis of design standards that could be changed to facilitate safer boat streets like in neighborhoods. I have a lot of people in Kilmarnock that want to drop the speed limit to like 30 or 40. Like, you see Victoria, Courtney, everybody does it, but you can't in the rural area because they have that provincial guidebook that tells them how everything needs to be. So we're trying to put a dent in that.
Has there been any discussion with the RCMP, with the chief of police out here?
Yeah, so the RCMP and the ministry have a very interesting relationship because typically the RCMP will say, yeah, it's great if you improve safety. And then the ministry will say, well, actually the best is if you do enforcement. So if you see people speeding, call the RCMP. And it just keeps going that way. So it's not the most productive thing, but, and again, I don't want to describe people because you got champions at every level of government sometimes, but it's that policy that has to change for us to really see difference, because I think the expectations, going back to the recreation earlier, I'm seeing the expectations of safety. On Royston, we have a little active transportation around the school. It's been brutal to work with the province on it because it's the first time they do something in the suburban kind of zone where we're trying something a bit more city-like, and it's been a nightmare to try to navigate their policy. So again, not super good news, but I wanted you to know that that's being worked on, and when people send me requests, stuff like it helps. It actually helps to show that people want this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the question just at the entrance to Union Bay, just here, you got the south of town. There's multiple points where there should be changes. Yeah. Rick, a quick one?
Yes, in answer to the question here, we have had a speed watch test done in Union Bay.
Okay.
And in excess of 60% of the vehicles exceeded the speed limit in the south.
In excess of what?
In excess, more than 60% of the vehicles.
60%. Okay, so Rick just made a comment that they did a speed review here, and the residents, I guess, or the club or someone, and they found that 60% of vehicles were exceeding the speed limits coming into this area. Not overly surprising. So yeah, there's work to do, and yeah, see, a popular topic. I'm getting lots of questions. Can we return to it at the end? Or? Yeah. Yeah, I've put that request about 10 times for speed lights at different places. And then the answer is still no, and yeah. It's a more, you think it'd be an easy topic, it clearly hasn't proven to be. There's a lot of, I'm going to test it, I'll send the Union of BC municipalities, because the stuff we're bringing, I figure everybody has that problem in rural areas across BC, so. Yeah, on Hornby on Hornby, they've actually done their own signs all along the road, and there's stuff that is not endorsed by government, but that definitely some people put together. And Gabriola even put in their own infrastructure last summer. If people saw on Czech News at the ferry terminal, someone went in the middle of the night and did a ministry-level job, like creating a pedestrian access. And the ministry, guess what? They actually have not removed it yet. So that's actually not a bad sign, you know? Okay. Yeah, media as well, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'll take one more on this one, because I still have a couple of topics.
After your guys coming out of our driveway, we actually called the RCMP and made a report.
Yeah.
And said, there's a problem with speeding in the area. We'd be more than happy for them to park in our driveway and do speed, laser, whatever. We did have one car come out for one day.
Yeah.
That we saw.
Yeah.
So maybe that's an option too, the more reports that go in, perhaps that might increase the police.
Yeah.
Policing area.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, so you notice the problem, call the RCMP, and they came for one day. That's what I hear. The biggest success I've seen, anybody knows Jacqueline Miller with the Lions Club, the Bainstown Lions in Fanny Bay? She was on a multi-year thing for Ships Point Road, and she had a whole campaign around cat lives also matter, and it was fun, but she was also really driven. She ended up with a huge petition, and the end outcome is the ministry came, did a mini speed review just for Ships Point, and they said there's no problem here. So I mean, we're trying to gain the powers for regional district to have more of a voice around speed limits, safety, amenities, all these different things, because currently we have no voice. Okay? The inspector, yeah, you could, yeah. Okay, well, you just confirmed to me that this is worth continuing to push. A lot of questions about it, and my emails, my phone, like a lot of people, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's at least once or twice a week that I hear from a resident in this area with concerns around either a desire for better active transportation, for if they want to bike or walk, or just pure safety and fear of accidents happening. Okay. Comox First Nation Treaty, I've sort of updated. Yeah, so they had their vote. Their next steps is ratification with the federal government, with all the partners. That should happen in the next couple of years. And then they'll have a modern treaty. And it's very comprehensive treaty. It still has some future opportunities that they can explore with the federal government, so it's not like a fully closed book, but they've done so much work. And again, the South area, when they look at future projections for growth, this is really where they see the future housing opportunities and needs for the nation is all in this area. And for those, I think I've said that a few times at different events, but for those who don't know anything about it, you can definitely go to their website or go to the federal government website. You can get some information easily. And what you'll find out is the main parcel basically goes from just abutting Union Bay Estates on the other side of Washer Creek just towards the highway a little bit, and pretty much, head towards the Trent River. And then between the two highways. So it's a very large area and really what they see as a big future for the nation, and that's why they're so interested in the sewage and water project. Because as the chief always says, if we just get an area of land without services, it's like giving us a Porsche without an engine, right? So they're really hoping that they'll make progress. So they're great to work with, and the whole board we've had, it's been a very rewarding relationship with them. I find them really awesome to work with. Oh yeah, another one. Shipbreaking property status. We're getting near the end here, but the shipbreaking. Sometimes it feels like, and I'm not supposed to talk about this at all. Staff always says, we're under legal process, so don't talk about it, Dr. Arbour. But sometimes it feels like, we're just nice people, and we show up with like our pen and our piece of paper to like a bar fight. And that's really how it feels. Like the disregard for all levels of government's rules and regulation has been incredible. And it's our own process. We're now through our second lawyer on it, and we had to have a change of lawyer a year and a half ago. And it's been really hard on the CVRD to get somewhere with this one. Since we saw each other, I was really heartened to see the province find their pathway. I believe that was last summer, June or July, when they came down with the decision to basically remove the water license, because for the province too, they were like, well, you're just not following our rules. And now I know there's problems with enforcement, but at least it's passed from is this a problem to an enforcement issue. So for us at CVRD, we're still not quite there. We still need that court decision, and we're still not in court. So we can go. I can't say much more than that, but that is the state of play on that one. It's quite this. Yeah, there's still activities, and I mean, for us, that's where you get into the legalities of it, because some activities are legitimate, and others are not. And then how do you monitor and all that? Huge props to, concern. Oh my God, COBS. But now when I try to say the actual words, the concerned citizens of Bain Sound. Okay, thanks. Huge props to them, because they've helped the whole process so much with their advocacy and just attention to the issue. Mary, I want to give you props as well. There's just been a huge amount of effort to both monitor, report, and understand what is happening there. Honestly, I don't think either the CVRD or the province would be as advanced as we are, even though it's not super advanced, if this wasn't the case.
It's 4 years on, nothing's been done.
Yes.
That's not advanced, that's reprehensible, slovenly, useless governance.
Okay, so no, this is a fair, so I'll repeat it so they get it on there. So the comment there was, we have been actually useless, that the CVRD and the government has been useless, and that is reprehensible how little has happened. I actually...
If any one of us had violated the bylaws so blatantly, would have been summarily dealt with. And I'm sorry, it just doesn't wash, that nothing has happened. It's just getting worse and worse.
Okay. Mary?
I'd like you to tell me why there isn't a trial date set.
Preparation for... Yeah, I can't. I really can't, Mary.
I know, and
Yep.
you know,
Sorry, I'm going to stay away from that one.
well, my case was held up 2 years.
Yeah.
Because of the PPP
Yeah.
Act.
Yeah.
And my case is finished with,
Yeah.
and you guys don't even have a trial date.
Yeah.
So when was the last time there was any legal action on the file?
Oh, legal action is... legal attention is ongoing. But this... I'll have...
I can go on the court site.
Yes.
And there's, what's happening?
No, there's still no court date. You're correct on that. Yeah.
Because you wanted to change the venue.
There's that, and there's more, Mary. So I won't be... And the reason why I can't talk about it is because right now I'm live streaming, right? And it's like... no, but what I mean is there's also another side. there's another side that will pay close attention to whatever I say. And I'm giving you as much as I can in terms of how disheartened I am, how I keep pushing the issue at the board, how much I appreciate the concerned citizen. We will get there, okay? We will get there. And I'm trying not to make excuses because, as you say, some of what people are saying is right, and I agree with it. But at the same time, I get to the view of what the processes are and what the game that is being played is played. I also can give you an example, a different example, which was on Cumberland Road when I got in office. Okay, there was a person who had put like rocks and fields. They were using it for like rock sales on agricultural land. It took 9 years to resolve that one between the regional district and the ALR commission. This is, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I will, and I know we'll, you know, that's genuine upset that people are, and I get it. There is a difference, slight difference between the SLAP suit and a bylaw infraction suit, which. Yeah, yeah. So. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. And the comment was, my hands are tied. Yeah, my hands are tied, but I untie them pretty often at the board. And and I want to just acknowledge your comments. I don't disagree with that. That it is shameful. We're sticking with it. I'm not going to throw our staff, our lawyers under the board. Like the other side is well represented as well. And yeah, so I think I will close it at that before I get myself in trouble on this issue. And I'm hoping that by next year, I mean, if by next year this is still an issue, this is crazy. But I said this would be done in a couple of years. And at the time, the CVRD said we would have this resolved. Like this is in 2021, I think. So we're now in 2026. You know, it's 5 years later. Yeah.
What's the CVRD's position? What should be allowed to be done there and what shouldn't be?
The CVRD's case, which is public, is that we take the view that shipbreaking is not an allowable activity under bylaws. Okay, so so everything has a zoning, right? Everything has a zoning, like you're allowed to have 2 houses on your lot. It is an industrial marine zoning, so there's some nuances through all that, as you can imagine. But shipbreaking is not listed and should not be considered an allowable activity. That is the basis of our case. And beyond that, there's a number of other issues that we have at the site. I will not get into those. Yeah.
Is the CVRD working with or in touch with the province or other?
Yeah, there's been some discussion. The question was, is there, as the CVRD work with the province, there's been communication between the province and the CVRD on some matters. I will also need to leave that one at that. But yeah, there's been discussion. I've met with our MLA, I've met with our MP multiple times on the issue, and I understand the staffers as well have. Yeah.
Just one follow-up question. If shipbreaking should not be done in marine industrial zoning, what would be the appropriate zoning for it?
It would need to be, and so for any zoning, you can come forward with an activity, because every activity will be described. So if you go to our books, it will describe the activities that are allowed under a marine industrial zoning. Shipbreaking is not listed. If you wanted shipbreaking, there is, and we've said that, and I've said that to the proprietors way back when, there is a process to add it, right? So it's called a zoning amendment, right? So if you wanted another garage or something on your lot, you would come to the CVRD and say, hey, can I have a zoning amendment? In this case, it would be to add that activity. From there, we would have a public hearing where residents would get to come and give their opinions, engineers, professionals, etc. And then at the end of the day, the board of the regional district would make a decision whether we grant that amendment to the zoning bylaw. So there's actually a clear path to get that clearly black and white on paper allowed, and that happens all the time. We have public hearings, we have zoning amendments all the time. So, but they never chose to do that. So they said, no, actually we're gonna continue with this activity. Okay, last one on this one. One more. Yeah, they're not. Thank you. Thank you. You know, as politicians, you get trained by other politicians, and they always say, you know, Daniel, if you end up in trouble, just punch up. Blame the federal government. But in this issue, it's actually all levels of government that are struggling. The federal government, however, the reason why I'm smiling is that they've been conspicuously absent on this file. Both the Department, Transport and Environment and DFO. Please, after, talk to Cobbs about that. The federal government has not been, I think they have tools and powers that they have not utilized on this file. Marilyn, do you want to comment or ask a different question?
If I were to add one more quick to your comment, there's the zoning, which is the land, which is industrial marine, but there's also the access to the water.
Yeah.
And people have to realize that that's a shallow beach. It's not a deep water port.
Yeah.
And nowhere in the world is shipbreaking allowed anywhere else but in a deep water port.
Hmm.
And that place, because of the 17-foot tides, is just not conducive to be dragging vessels across the beach to the uplands. There's better places.
Yeah.
It does have to happen, just not in a shallow.
That's right. So the comment, just again for the live stream and for those who couldn't hear, is just that anywhere in the world, that kind of beach approach to shipbreaking would just not be allowed by multiple international regulations and et cetera, and that a deep port is usually the place in industrial areas where you would see that kind of activity. So yeah, you're correct on that. I would say that one thing that has come out of that our MP, as Gorjon, has picked up on, is he started a group in Port Alberni because he was fighting this issue, but he's a guy who's like, you know, well, the activity needs to happen somewhere. And they happen to have a deep port now, and now they have this huge stakeholder table with the port of Port Alberni and the First Nations and the local officials and the province, looking at the potential to start doing that activity at the port of Port Alberni. So yeah, so obviously, yeah, deep port, everything you said is correct, yeah. So, okay. I'll try to turn the page on shipbreaking for now. But you can bring it back when I'm done. Just 2 more items, and then we'll pick up any topics you want and topics I haven't covered. The next one, totally different. Regional Solid Waste Management Plan. So this is garbage and recycling. So our region, for those who don't know, is between Fanny Bay and Tassis and Cortez. And we have this huge basin for what is the actual service area. And the main landfill is Cumberland for all of that. It used to be that there were a bunch of different landfills, but they've all been closed, and it's all Cumberland, except for the organic waste, because Campbell River was feeling a bit left out with all the employment and things coming here. So the organics is actually in Campbell River at the old landfill. None of that, for most of you in Union Bay, applies because you don't get an organic bin. You just get private garbage pickup. And some might get recycling at a higher price. The region and the province have started to really crack down on a number of rural areas because there's too much disparity between the level of diversion that happens in municipal areas versus rural areas. So the Solid Waste Management Plan, our crew was probably here in the last year. They've been going around every community gathering feedback. There is appetite for better service here. There's also concerns about cost, and we hear that all the time. What would be the cost of the service? I'm just giving the heads up. The Solid Waste Management Plan, if it passes at the regional level, we kind of set standards for what happens and go forward, and that exercise will conclude in the next year. So in the meantime, we still have some requests to expand the Royston service. We've expanded to Kilmarnock 4 years ago through petition by the residents in Kilmarnock. Anyone from Kilmarnock here? Okay, are you happy with the service? You're good? How's the price? How much do you pay? Anybody knows? Yeah, so it'd be just a fee for garbage. I think it's about 170. Does that sound about right?
It's 260 for everything.
Maybe with the water, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, so we'll see what happens with that one. It's been around a few times at the regional district, in this regional district, and but I just wanted to put it on the list so you're not surprised when this stuff comes back, because there'll be, I expect a lot more discussion on it coming up in the next year. Yeah, my preference is really for communities to have a say in what happens. But that solid waste management plan, I don't know. I think it's clear that both the province and the regional district want to arrive at some solutions. And again, part of the driver is when you don't get the recycling outcomes, there's a few things that happen. Like we have this huge methane, because there's all kinds of regulations at the landfill. The thing is, like, it's not like a hole in the ground like it used to be. It's highly engineered. A cell costs us about $8 million for a cell, and it lasts about 7 years for one hole. Because you got to line it, you got to capture all the methane, process the methane. Like it's a really heavily regulated thing. And when you keep adding organics, then it costs you more on the methane processing. So there's just a lot to it, and that's what staff, the province, and are looking at. So I'll have more information definitely next year, but I think in the interim you'll hear more about this one. And then awarded small grants to nonprofits. Oh, I left the cherry on top, so to speak, to Union Bay nonprofits. Yeah, so every year we also give some grants to the nonprofits in the area, and whether it's for the post office here, there's just a ton of nonprofits in the Bay Sound that can apply, and so I'm just promoting it again. If you're part of a nonprofit that's never applied, just know if you're looking like especially in the $2,000-3,000 level that you have a project that you want to complete, like we have the call once a year, and it's pretty low barrier for people to put an application in. Okay, I'll get a sip of water and then really open it up. Any questions or topics outside, but I do need that sip. Okay, thank you. I had heard, then I'll go.
I just want to know if there are any costs for the replacement of the water meters.
Thank you for coming. What's that?
Is there any cost for to us for the replacement of the water meters?
The water meters, is there a cost to the replacement of the water meters? Yeah, there is a cost, but it's kind of built into what we're already, it's not significant enough that you'll notice it because we have reserves, we have all these different things, so it's basically getting built into the existing financial plan. That was also the question I asked staff.
Private owner won't have to pay much.
No, that's right.
But if the existing water meters are still working fine,
Yeah.
why don't you just replace them with the new ones as the other ones break? Why spend all that money replacing all the existing ones
Yeah,
that are still working fine?
that's a good.
We're trying to lower taxes, not spend more money.
So the question for those who couldn't hear is, why don't you replace those that are broken, so to speak, or need replacement and leave the ones that are good there? Yeah, that's also a good question. So there's a couple things that happen. One is it's a whole new system that, as I said, will connect remotely. And so the reading of the meters will happen differently, and the transferring of the data to our headquarters will be different. And then that leak detection will also allow us to look at the entire system and probably do better asset management around the pipe as we get information along each street.
But that's all going to cost us more money in our taxes to put this fancy new system in when the existing system is still working fine.
The existing system needs replacement. Yeah.
On our street alone, we've had 2 water main meters fail,
Yeah.
emergency call-outs, digging up the streets. It's just happening
Yeah.
bit by bit, costs way more to do it now.
So yeah, and I mean I understand the philosophy. And that's actually a good example in that. Number one, it's not going to be a huge hit to your taxes. The cost of the water meters are built into the financial plan as it is. So yes, there is a cost, but it's not like we're going to send you a special bill for it. And second, for the whole system, it will allow us better management throughout. So that is why it's being pursued all at once. Also the economies of scale, but I didn't ask that question, but I imagine maybe there's some economies of scale as well. There was in the back, then I'll go to you. Oh yeah, great question. Not a lot. For the Coal Hill project, Jenny Sagan has actually been in touch a little bit with the ministry, and they're not giving a lot of information on it around both the process and also what's going to be the outcome. They did one presentation at the regional district in 2019, and that's the last we heard. But the end outcome should be pretty good, both from an environmental perspective and also regaining public access, which is why I'm surprised they don't talk about it, because to me it's like a good news story. It's an enormous cost. I mean, when they presented to us in 2019, it was going to be a $30 million project. So at inflation, like it's a significant, but even then I'm like, you're doing a good thing for Bain Sound, you're cleaning up the coal hills. I even told our MLA, I'm like, God, take your phone and, go do a video, explain to people what's happening. But yeah, so that's all I have. I don't have much more than you have. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, so we just heard a problem with the wrapping and erosion, basically. Did you call it in or email it? Yeah, so, and also, even if I have nothing to do with it, if you guys, like, when something like that, fire me an email and I can relay it and get the ball rolling, because you'd be surprised how often government workers or other, like, they just don't know. The question was, there's some erosion and some of the trees are being affected by some of the works, right, with the wrapping and the rocks on the other side. Yeah. I don't know, maybe you will, but my main, I can't, we won't get into specifics because it sounds like a specific area, but my main point is email it in, because a lot of time people just don't know, even the government folks might not know, we might not know, but just if you call it in, there'll be some attention paid. Mary says she flies her drone, so she has, yeah. Okay, we'll keep moving, this one and then this one. How much? Okay, so the garbage and recycling, right, is $57 per 3 months on Kilmarnock. That's every 3 months. Yeah, that sounds about right, because it's about 170 a year, or a little 200 a year or something. 220. Yeah, so the 220 was probably quite right. So that's the cost for garbage and recycling on Kilmarnock, and that was an expansion of the Royston service. Royston has had it forever, well, in our world. And then Kilmarnock got added. And I know there's requests in Union Bay, but yeah, the last time it didn't go well. The electoral assent process didn't pass last time we tried to bring garbage and recycling to the other areas. Yeah. Over there? Yeah, back to the Coal Hills. Yeah.
So when they finish, we don't know exactly what's happening in nature and over, like, could some of this newly allocated park money that you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we could effectively make it into our own park?
We don't know if it's it's not. I don't think it's going to be called a park because it's like a toxic site that's being remediated. But in terms of usage, they've been really consistently saying they will restore public access once the work is completed. They haven't specified it will be public access like it used to be across the whole thing or just segments. But I think that's a good question. Also, what will be the relationship with regional district? We haven't talked to them about that at all. I'm pretty certain. So now that you've said that, I'll raise that question at the board with our park staff. Yeah. Yes, that's right. Sorry. Yeah. Skip.
Active transportation,
Yes.
railway, at least between downtown and Buckley Bay or probably South Mondo, Fan Bay. Is there any part of that involved in the data settlement, and is there, or will it be like the news is gone where they've taken it out of the railway situation?
Yeah. Good question. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I was chair of the Allen Corridor for a couple of years, and I was on the board for 6, so it's an issue I know pretty well. And the question was, can some of the Allen Corridor, the ENN, be used for active transportation, or could it be retaken by the nation? The transfer back to Nanus was very specific to the reserve lands, and Comox First Nation does not have reserve lands that the ENN crosses. So Nanus basically said because it hasn't been used, and that went to the Supreme Court, they gained the right back to the land. And you should know that the island corridor, like the ENN, is owned by the 5 regional districts and 14 nations. So it's kind of interesting with the news because they also sit on the board. And short term in the Comox Valley, we just finished a bit of a shared planning exercise with Comox First Nation and the regional district around the future. And there is interest in better utilization of the corridor in the future. Comox First Nation has still not necessarily given up on the rail option. They just want to take their time and not rush to decisions around what happens. But in the interim, we have the active transportation project I was describing near Royston School is likely to utilize the ENN. So there's still a lot of stuff that we can explore and do. But on the larger questions of the whole corridor, that will be years. Yeah.
So you're saying the ENN line, as far as it's in our neighborhood, is not within the land and settlement area? That settlement of lands is above the railroad?
Oh, the treaty lands, the new treaty? Yeah, okay, thank you. That is a good question. No, the treaty lands will cross a little section of railway, and we did discuss what will happen to that. But it's not, the Supreme Court decision was based on reserves, right? And this will not, the treaty lands will not be reserves, it'll be treaty lands. So there'll be a need for further exploration of what that means. But the history of the ENN has been really contentious with the nations. I don't expect that discussion regarding the treaty and the ENN, I think it'll be quite collaborative on that. So, but any talk of rail returning, I'll tell you the goods, like the big problems is where it does cross a number of reserves further down island. And those nations have significant concerns about the return of rail, partly for safety issues. So whether it be Snuneymuxw in Nanaimo or Halalt or Cowichan, like a number of nations would need to see some significant changes, I think, to support the return of rail. For active transportation, there's already 120 kilometers of the 220 kilometers have trails beside it. In the regional district here, we haven't done too much, but maybe we'll start. Yes, over here, I think.
Yes,
yeah.
much
And then,
smaller issue
yeah.
to do with your last notation about the non-profit association
Yes.
applications.
Yes.
As member of the Historical Society, we've done a presentation on Monday
Yeah.
to the CVRD.
Yeah.
And I'm just anxious to know when we get a decision, if we're going to get some money for our.
Yeah, so the Historical Society came to the CVRD. You did a great job, by the way. That was, is it?
Pardon?
Not this Monday, last Monday, right? Or this Monday? This Monday. The week goes by quick. Yeah, so they had a request, and that's also encouraged, and I'm getting to your question, but if any groups want to come and present on your project at the CVRD, it's always an open door. We give you 10 minutes, even as a resident, if you want to talk about an issue that's important to you, just come. So you did that with the Historical Society. I'm quite confident that your request will be supported, but it's not going to be in this budget because budget just closed. So I think in next month we'll get back in touch and we'll look. There's 2 ways we can do it. One is through an amendment, and the other is long-term planning. Some of the items you were asking for, I think, are longer-term arrangements, right?
Our shingles are like sponge.
Yeah, the shingles are like sponge. Yeah. So I can't make the decision tonight. I know that I'm not in a public meeting.
I'm just, is it months, years? What can we?
Let me get back on email with you like in the next couple of days on that one. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. And sorry, I had this lady here.
Hi. Yes, I want some more information and clarification on the sub-sewer.
Yeah.
You said it was $30 million grant from the province.
Yeah.
And then Comox First Nation. Do you have any idea, number one, how much can be contributed from Comox First Nation?
Yeah, I do. That figure is still not public.
Okay.
I know the number.
That's what
It's a good number.
The second thing was, you said that Union Bay probably wouldn't be involved in
planning?
Gonna start doing the, South Street.
Okay, yeah, that's something, so the question is, both for Union Bay and for the project, when would it start? Okay, yeah, I forgot to put that because I just forgot to give you a date, but construction is unlikely to begin before 2030 in any scenario, and that's... No, that's for the whole thing. Like, we're still a few years because we have to do archaeology. There's still a lot of steps. So when people, and that's a question that's actually quite serious to a lot of households, which is, hey, I want to replace my septic. Okay, do it. Because there's still uncertainty on this project. And I've pushed with Ian Munro. People know Ian Munro here. And we had actually a bunch of people from Union Bay Royston also advising on that. But we asked for also deferrals for those who've put new systems. There might be a 5-year grace period for them to start paying towards the capital. We're trying to be creative, but yeah, I'm glad you raised the question. It's still a bit in the distance. And as for Union Bay, it could be even much longer if we don't include you in this first phase.
Okay,
Right?
so the first phase is Royston.
Yeah,
and
Royston for sure.
Kilmarnock area.
Maybe Kilmarnock.
Maybe
Yeah.
Kilmarnock.
Yeah.
How do they figure out how much it's gonna cost those two areas?
So yeah, so we were ready to go. Like before Union Bay Estates vanished on us, they had a significant contribution to the project. That one I can say it was close to 20 million, so not small chump change. They were going to commit over time. When we lost that, and the project was like put together, so to speak, right? We had Union Bay, not Kilmarnock in phase 1. We had Royston, so we were feeling really good. So to go back to your question, how do you figure which one? That's the work that's happening right now. And it's all about the economics of the grant, because one commitment that we heard, people do not want to pay, and it's already a big amount that will be added to taxes. It would be about $2,500 a year when we went to consultation per year to get the sewage. It's not a small amount on your taxes. And what we heard is people were saying, we don't want it to be above that. So what staff is trying to do is to redesign a project that meets that bar of the 2,500.
So is that 2,500 if you're gonna amortize it over 25 years?
Yeah, correct.
Or-
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I thought it was like if you're gonna pay out this, correct me if I'm wrong, if it was like 25,000 plus the maintenance.
There was an option for a one-time payment as well. Yeah. Yeah.
So the next question is, you said on the collection, so, the treatment plant in the Kilmarnock area, would that be, like, let's just say supposedly, it's gonna be Royston, Kilmarnock, and First Nations possibly.
Mhm.
Is the collection area all gonna be in the Kilmarnock area?
You're talking about a pump station. So when you say collection, you're right. So we have the pipes, but at least in 2 or 3 places to get to Courtney, we need to put a pump station.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
the treatment plant and the pump station
The-
are two different things?
Two different things. The treatment plant, all of the flows from the south area will go to the main treatment plant at Cape Ladzo in Comox. So all the flows will go there. All we do is just pump it, and pump it. Yeah. Okay, we're getting close. I had you, and then back in. Thank you for that. It was on my list last year. Well, the question is what's the potential for the new library? Okay, write me in, please. I need to hear more about this one. We had 2 changes of staff at the school district and at the library, and they were warming up to using the old school site, demolish the school, put a new branch there. Union Bay is number 3 or 4 on the list of 40 in need of replacement, and the 1 and 2, Campbell River and Tofino, they're working on right now. So we're coming up the list of capital projects. I really feel that that site is really great. A lot of people do. But we never got to a signed memorandum of understanding between Verl and the school district and the CVRD. So it's kind of back. I need to pick it up again because it's a great opportunity to do something cool for the community here. Yeah, write me in because I don't get a lot of requests on that. Right now there's been a lot of drama around the hours at the library and a lot of dissatisfaction in the community, and there's been some really good advocacy. On the one hand, the library here got more hours, but it's been awkward for staff with the timing of those hours. So, but in terms of the site, yeah, please write in, because that allows me to say, hey, see, Union Bay people, they want this, they want that better space. And at the same time, as you know, there could be an impact on the post office. So for me, everything is interconnected, right? We wouldn't want to leave you in the lurch, and there's Canada Post and all those discussions as well. So, yeah, this one is hard because it's basically cobbling three organizations that are not used to working together, but that is a great potential project. And the money, it will be paid out of the library system. There'll be no additional cost to Union Bay people to get that new branch. So it'd be a huge win, and it's just, I think it'll start getting hot in 1 or 2 years, but if we start making some noise about it, that's good in the lead up. And are you guys getting tired of hearing from me? Yeah, a couple. So we'll take 2 more questions, then I think we'll wrap it up. I see a few people that are like, yeah. Oh, did you have another follow-up? Do you want us to talk a little more after, maybe on the South Sewer, specific to your... Oh, okay, people are interested. Go ahead. Yeah.
So on the pump station, like supposedly, is that going to be in that park on Montrose?
Okay, yeah. Is the pump station in Kilmarnock? That's been an object of
And what areas would it service? Like how many pump stations are there going to potentially be between Union Bay and downtown Union Bay and Royston?
How many pump stations? So the number of pump stations currently in the last plan was just one around Argyle / Kilmarnock / and one in Royston. So that's it. Yeah. And then for the one for Montrose, there is, this gentleman that talked earlier about the ENN versus the highway, and some of those considerations might dictate as well where the pump station might be best located. It could actually be on Comox land. We just don't have that technical analysis done now with the rejig. Okay, so Mary?
Regarding the grant money for the sewer project.
Yeah.
If it only comes down, say, to Kilmarnock, will that affect the next stage when if we use that grant money for there, and then the next stage,
Yeah.
Union Bay applies for grant money, will
Yeah.
they go, hey, you already received money?
Yeah, great question from Mary. She says if they do Kilmarnock and Royston, does that mean that the grants is gone and Union Bay is left by itself? I mean, yeah, thank you. The quick answer is yes. And Ian Munro has actually pushed hard on it when Kilmarnock was probably going to get left out under the other plan. And that equitability is important. I would say the big opportunity for Union Bay would be to either pursue other grants, which may be difficult at a time where senior government is drying up. The other, I know you won't like it, but I said it earlier, anybody that wants to try to do something with Union Bay Estates has to sign the dotted line on a sewage pipe. So that would be the other opportunity if another player came in and made a contribution at the level that we were expecting from Union Bay Estates. And I said 2 more. People, will we allow a third one? Okay, we'll allow a third one. Go ahead, and then to you.
Are we going to pay for sewer that we're not using?
No. Only the people that are connected to the sewer are going to pay for the sewer. Let's be clear about that. Yeah, 100%. And by the way, if people want to talk, I'm going to stay around. Okay, I'm going to stay around another half hour. So if you haven't gotten to your thing, the gentleman here, did you want to ask your question?
Yeah. Okay. As far as the sewer in Union Bay.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to be on a hold. When will? Okay, it's going to start in 2030. You said, but a lot later in Union Bay. So
Potentially.
Is that 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? What's
Undetermined.
undetermined?
Yeah.
So assume that it does start at some point within the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Then we're going to have to pay what, $50,000 to get it hooked up to our house?
Well,
we have to plan for this.
yeah. Yeah, no, I understand. The question was if Union Bay so please everybody, we're almost wrapped up. So the question was, you know, if Union Bay gets left with the sewage and it's 10 years later, will it be 50,000? I mean, I'll be honest with you, it will be affordable or there won't be a project, and that's true everywhere, right? If people are willing to pay 50,000 then for sewage, like great, but people have a willingness to pay has a limit as well. So it could be that Union Bay could be left permanently. But again, I'm trying to give you the goods. The big opportunities would be, this project currently configured, grant and partner contribution, like Royston in the last design, Royston and Union Bay were paying for about $5 million of the project cost on a $65 million project. The rest was partner contributions and grants. So there's no scenario in my view that residents without grants or partnership will get sewer here. Yeah. And one last one. I'm giving you the last one. Yes.
The $30 million grant we talked about,
Yes.
when do we lose it?
Yeah, when do we lose the 30 million? Shh. We don't talk about that. Josie might be watching us. No, we need to so we've asked for an extension. A lot of these grants, complicated infrastructure grants, have extension. We're now asking for an extension. We were supposed to when we got the grant in 2022, I forget the exact date, a while ago, we had to start construction in 2027. So now we've gone back to them and asking for a 3-year extension to 2030. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for coming, everybody. Hope it was informative.